Revolution, everybody. This is your boy, Brother Leonard, the Truth Seeker, and I wanted to post this 5 minutes of truth today on Labor Day because I just want to give out a couple of things about what's going on with Bishop Eddie Long and reading the different reports that are out there. And one thing that I did want to say, many of you have read the ObnoxiousTelevision.com, Brother Obnoxious, Sir William, he likes to call himself. But I know that you've read that report, and one thing about Mr. McCray, as a person, I think that he's a nice guy. I've chatted with him through social media a couple of times, and I really don't have much bad things to say about it, except for the fact that when it comes to like news, I just want people to realize that in some cases we want to try to find ourselves with reliable sources, and I think that I do have a little trouble with Mr. McCray as being a sole reliable source. However, there are certain things within the article that I do want to point out that he did make as a attempt to understand that what you're hearing is actually from sources that is not necessarily verifiable, which is very good. So he lets us know that up front. So as we know this, I just want you to take that into consideration. One of the things I did find out that so far in my research, there isn't I don't necessarily believe that if he was with AIDS, that it would be this sort of intestinal cancer. From what I'm reading and from what I'm understanding, that intestinal cancers may not happen because of HIV or the onset of AIDS, as it relates to the weakness in his immune system. That's one thing. The other thing is, I think that the people may say that instead of coming out with an AIDS or HIV admission, to say that there's some sort of cancer. That's the one thing that I think that I want people to know about this. And the other thing about this story as it relates to Bishop Eddie Long and the reports on it is, before we start to jump to these conclusions, we need to be fair. Okay? First of all, just because a man was not necessarily living right to what our standards of right is, doesn't necessarily mean that the wrath of God is coming upon that person. Okay? So we do know that a lawsuit in 2010 was given against Bishop Eddie Long. 4 men came forward to accuse him of basically sleeping with them against their will. And there was a settlement where 5 individuals received an undisclosed amount of money, and we are aware of that. We also know that through other reports that Bishop's Long behavior after this did not change much. But what we can say is this: is that regardless of his condition here, whether if this is an HIV to AIDS situation, and he contracted the disease through sin, then that's through sin. But if it's just a regular cancer, that doesn't necessarily mean, or I'm not saying regular cancer, but that doesn't necessarily mean that God sat there and is striking him down with cancer. It's dangerous theology to think this, and it's dangerous, just a lot of this whole, God's revenge type thing with us right now. I choose not to get into those discussions or whether or not God is going to cause a person this or that or anything. Nah. But I know a lot of people have started doing this and are going to continue to do this in spite of me saying something about it. You know, that's not it doesn't serve any purpose for us to sit back here and to look for this as some sort of God's judgment against Bishop Long. Listen, Bishop Long, right now is a sick man. And truthfully, we should be praying for him. Whether you're going to pray for him or not, that's up to you. Whether I pray for him or not is up to me. It is what it is. But we have to respect the fact that that doesn't necessarily mean that God is coming after him. Okay? Because we have this standard that we think that things should be. I just wanted to say that because I just want us as, Christians who, if we're Christian and we say that we love, that in spite of, who he is and I've been very critical of this man, and, but in the same likeness, I often say I thank God for Bishop Eddie Long. And the reason why I thank God for him is because if it had not been for this scandal, I wouldn't be doing the work that I'm doing today. And it helped define where I'm supposed to be in the body of Christ. It helped me to find my place. And I thank God for him. And at this time, I just want us to be mindful of the reporting that we get, because, when the pictures dropped, everybody began to speculate and everything like that. Speculations are still going to occur. And even, if what is currently happening ultimately leads to his passing, people are still going to speculate and they're still going to go through. But I just want you to know, I just want you to be mindful of this so that you're not caught up in a whole bunch of just vain speculations and come off to these conclusions that God is coming after him, God's going to do it, and ultimately use it to manipulate people of your influence of saying that if I don't do this, God's going to do this and everything like, no, 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 we're not in that age anymore. But I just want everyone to keep that in mind. And I know I went on and rambled on for 10 minutes here, but we are going to continue on with this story. I'm going to continue going on with this story because it is something that's a big news, and we have our own sources who are telling us something very similar. So look for our reports, and when we get something definite, we will definitely have something, for you as it relates to Bishop A. Long. And for that, This been my little minutes, my 5 minutes of truth, which turned into 10 minutes. I don't know why I say 5 minutes of truth, but this is your boy, Brother Leonard, the Truth Seeker. And like I say before, revolution, everybody, revolution.